And we're live.
And we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Monday Night Mythbusters. I'm Dr. Carolyn George from Vita Integrative Medicine, and I have with me a guest tonight, as well as Leslie Harrington, my inspirational, transformational coach. And then I've got with me Mika Ann, who is the co-writer of the course that we did called Brain Yoga, Blasting the Brain Fog Away. Welcome, Mika.
Thank you. Happy to be here with you guys.
Yes. So everybody just kind of make sure that you put in any questions. We've got some things we'll ask you, but we love the shout outs. We love any kind of interaction. So feel free to send us questions if you have any. Okay. And we're going to welcome in, I can see Marianne, Ellen, Brian, and a few others are joining us already. And as we get going here, maybe we'll have a few more. We were a little late. I apologize, but I got caught in traffic. And so I was not here to get things organized in a timely fashion. So my apologize. We'll maybe go a few minutes after 8 o'clock so that we can answer any questions if we have them. So tonight we wanted to talk about brain fog. And that is a really, really common issue that I see in the office. A lot of people come in with other symptoms.
We've all had it from time to time.
Right? But almost universally, people will say, they've either got brain fog now or brain drain, whatever terms you want to use to call it. But that feeling that you're kind of working through cobwebs, that you can't think clearly, you're not making decisions well, you're getting stressed over minor things, you're probably not sleeping well. And this kind of permeates your everyday existence. And so you just don't feel quite right. There's something going on that's not normal for you. This isn't something you're born with, obviously. This is something that you acquire through adulthood. And then people will come to me and ask about ways to help correct this or what they can do. And in functional medicine, we want to look for the root cause. So there can be many different root causes. But what we're going to talk about tonight are some common things that you can do to help that brain fog, right?
I like it.
So has anybody had that experience? Anybody out there kind of felt, okay, I can't think the way I used to. I can't remember things. I don't know where my keys are. Has anybody had that experience? If so, can you give me a thumbs up? We'll see how common it is in our viewership tonight.
Hey, everybody. Lots of thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few visitors.
Yeah. Mika gave us thumbs up. Yeah, we're all thumbs up. We've all had that experience.
Brian
I got a
says every day.
Right. So Brian says, seems like every day.
Yeah.
And does brain fog cause memory issues? Yes. Well, that's kind of part of it, right? Brain fog isn't a conventional ICD-10 diagnostic code. It's kind of a common symptom people will complain about. So associated with that is definitely memory loss, or especially short-term kind of working memory. So that's definitely a common thing.
Bringing you towards me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm cutting myself off.
I'm like, I lost your ear.
So we're just trying to share a screen here. So if you don't see me, that's why.
That's why we look like Siamese.
I tend to move around too much. So anyways, what I wanted to say, though, is that I really had terrible brain fog after the birth of my twins. And I was not getting any sleep at all, up every hour and a half to nurse them, and then having to take care of all the household chores in between. And so I can vividly recall just not even knowing what my name was some days, and certainly not being able to remember things that were second nature to me, like doses of certain antibiotics or how to spell the word now, or, just really simple things. And just being so frustrated and flustered by that I was like, oh, okay, this can't be the rest of my life, because I can't function like this.
I could be in the middle of a sentence in a conversation and completely just everything stops, right. And like your train of thought just went to a whole different universe.
Right. And how about you, Mika?
Well, I never can remember where I parked the car anymore, so I have to make sure I say, okay, look around. I think one of the reasons today is that our minds are just too overrun with information and too many things to do, and we forget to be present in the moment and pay attention to where we park the car or where we laid our keys down. And, I think that we'll probably talk about that tonight, just trying to stop, pause, and breathe is
Right.
a good way,
And that
good
is
remedy. What ails your brain?
almost everything that ails you can be helped by doing that. Those are very wise words. And that's exactly it. That just being present, being in the moment can really shift you, right? So you're kind of not in the future worrying about what's coming up, not regretting what happened in the past, but firmly here in the moment. And that is something that I think is really, as you mentioned, it's just not something that's in our lexicon, really. We're really not thinking about that. We're just so forward thinking about
multitasking.
right, what's the next thing I've got to do? Okay, we're never happy with right where we are. Yeah, then what's the next thing, right?
Yeah, and I find when you walk in a room and you walk in circles and you're kind of like not even just, you forget what you were going in the room for, and I think that's sometimes a combination of multitasking, because you probably are on the phone or you're doing something different, but the presence alone and in stopping, and sometimes I even stop and say out loud, I'll say something that I need to remember, because in 10 minutes I'll turn around and go, oh, did I do that? And I'll know I did because I had my little, moment of clarity.
A brief moment.
Yes.
Clarify.
Writing things down, I think also that takes a lot of it out of your head. So when you write things down, your to-do list or whatever, then you're not trying to carry it around in your head all the time.
And that's
that really
great idea. That's something I suggest to patients to do at nighttime so that they can sleep better. I'm going to talk about sleep more in a minute. Right. But if you have that little pad, or maybe on your phone, if you're a millennial, depending on your age range, right? I like paper. But just writing down, what are the next things I need to do tomorrow morning, so it doesn't have to stay in my head and kind of circulate and keep me up.
And keeping a pad by the bed, because sometimes your best moments of clarity are when you're kind of falling out of that state. And it kind of stinks sometimes. I've literally woken up and then I go, hold on, let me write this down. Right. Because it's you need to write things down. They're gone. They're gone as fast as they pop into your head.
Right. So the next thing's coming, right? What's the next thing I got to do? Who do I have to feed? Where do I have to be? There's all of these demands of our everyday life. So the way we kind of structured the course that Mika and I created was looking at those root causes. So we'll talk tonight a little bit about some of the key things. So of course, diet. You never get away from this Facebook Live without talking about diet. And sleep, which is really profoundly critical in terms of how your brain functions. So we'll talk more about that. But also other things, because what Mika and I tried to do was bridge that gap between East and West. So we've got a lot of the Western knowledge, the science, the neurotransmitters, a lot of that type of stuff that's in the course that we did, and we'll talk about tonight. But also the Eastern side, so chakras and meditation and different kinds of breath exercises. We've kind of incorporated both of these aspects into the course, because I think both are really important in terms of bringing together our full self. Yeah, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah. Yes, I think one of the most important things that we taught in the course is a series of 8 breathing exercises. And breathing, it's that thing that you do on autopilot, but almost nobody even pays attention to a single breath they take. So that's one of the big trends going now, is learning how to breathe properly, learning how to utilize different ancient breathing techniques, and definitely try some of these. I think Carolyn said she might be demonstrating one tonight. I don't know. Did she say that? Did you say that?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. There's a couple that we can do, but I also wanted to get that story of the, I got to remember which breath it was.
Bastrika.
The Bastrika, yes, that you learned from the
yes,
that you learned from the guru. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, when I was living in Bali, I did some of you out there may have heard of it. It's called The Art of Living by the Guru Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, like not the Ravi Shankar that used to play the sitar, another one. And he comes to the States, but yeah, so it was all about yogic breathing techniques and meditation and just a lot of different things. But it was good. It was about 5 days, couple of days of silence, and he taught the Bastrika, which is raising your hands over your head and then pulling down forcefully, blowing out your nose, which if you look, a lot of other people teach that breath similar to what was the other power breath? I forget. Of course I forgot. The brain thing. But yeah, so I learned quite a few breathing techniques from him, Ujjayi breath and Bastrika, both a little bit different than the way they teach
the Kapalbhati. The Kapalbhati, is that what you were saying?
Oh yeah, a lot of people do the Bastrika like the Kapalbhati, yeah. So, but he taught it a little bit differently.
Right, and so both of those are kind of energizing breaths, right? So
yes,
yeah,
very energizing.
Right, the one that Mika's talking about, you sit in a kind of a kneeling position and you put your arms up. I'm going to scratch down so you can see my hands. And then you're grasping your hands like that, and then you pull it down really quickly, and you're exhaling at the same time, like that. And that's very energizing and kind of warm you up and get you moving. So there's some of the breaths are more energizing and some are much more calming. Some are good to do before you sleep, and some are better to do in the morning. So there's a variety of different breaths that really harness our internal energy.
I think it's interesting.
But all of them are good for getting that brain going. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All of them good to get the brain going. Exactly.
Like Mika was saying
get
before,
oxygen,
the awareness of how many breaths we're taking. So if you were to just sit and count how many breaths you're taking in a 60 minutes or 60-second period, and then focused on the breathing and using one of these techniques or the deeper breathing and holding or box breathing, it's the difference in breathing that you're using intentionally versus just the way that we breathe is like profoundly different. Right. The way we breathe from up down, where you're kind of like breathing in and down and you're up and down, versus kind of an east-west, I like to say, breathing, where when you're breathing in, you're expanding at the rib cage and your lungs are really filling up. And that difference in the breathing and the time that it takes. So if you kind of time yourself for a minute doing a regular breath without paying attention and then consciously breathing, the difference in the amount of breaths that you're taking and the power in the breaths makes a really big difference.
Right. Most of us just breathe very shallowly, very much off the top of our lungs.
Yeah.
And we tend to suck in more, right? Rather than when we're really breathing in to fill up our body, our belly kind of goes out. And then as we're exhaling, our tummy goes in. You want to fill up the lungs all the way down in a very simple breath exercise that you can do any place. I talk to patients about doing this in the car. You can do it when you're standing in line and starting to get frustrated because the cashier is too slow. Wherever you are, you can always have your breath, right? That's the one stress management technique that is universal. You can't exercise every place. You can't, maybe meditate every place, but you can always breathe. So just slowing down and taking some nice slow deep breaths in through your nose, filling up your tummy, and then exhale out. And just try to slow it down.
I think like a Buddha, when you're breathing in, letting your tummy get big and puffy and round, and breathe in and blow out that balloon. As women, we're always like holding it in, and like really like getting
we barely breathe.
Right?
Barely. Right?
Yeah, and the power in that type of breathing, what people don't realize is the alkalizing and the way that it resets your brain. And there's so many things that it's doing. It's meditative, obviously, too, but the power in one stoplight of breathing can offset some significant stressors that happen throughout your day.
Yeah. So all the things that you're doing, if you want to get in the Western side of that, you're increasing the oxygenation to your whole body, especially your brain. You're increasing that thing called brain-derived neurotropic factor, which we want more of, which helps those little cells create more of themselves and nourishes them. And so you're doing a lot of positive things. You're bringing down your adrenaline. You're bringing up your GABA, which is the relaxing hormone. So all of these things are going on just by slowing down the breathing and having intentional breathing right down into the bottom of your lungs.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so simple.
Yeah, we have access to that.
Simple. Yeah. Easiest thing anybody can do. And
But we have to
Yeah.
stop and think about it, and that's what we're not doing.
We have to teach people to do
Yeah.
this, which is crazy.
Yes.
But that's one thing I really loved in doing this, is learning more about these breath techniques and all the benefits of doing them, because they are so accessible. There's simple things that people can do at night as they're trying to go to sleep to help relax and increase the GABA, which is the relaxing hormone. Or if you want to energize, you want to get that adrenaline going first thing in the morning, there's some other breath techniques that you can do to do that and wake up the brain and get it moving. So what are
Yes,
some other-
we should tell everybody that I think we'll have you post your first breathing video on your Facebook page this week, and
Right, we'll do that.
they can get a sample of
Exactly.
of what it means and why you do it.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. So look on the resources page of my Facebook, and we'll probably also post it on the web page. But we should be able to put that up. But resources on my web page, and then just the Facebook. Looking, you can go to my page, which should be there. Okay, we'll also put a link.
I'm gonna put the link to the Daily Ohm Rest Your Brain Fog Away in the comments.
Okay, yeah.
So, if you guys want to click on to look at the course that we're talking about, I just put it in the comments, so you should be able to click right on there and see the development of the course and just what it's all about.
Exactly. And Cheryl says, I've been trying to breathe from the abdomen. I don't always succeed, but it helps to ease the anxiety. And that's absolutely the truth of it.
Yeah.
So just keep trying, Cheryl, just little by little.
It's practice.
It's practice. And it goes away when we're not thinking about it. It really does. But the moment you start to bring yourself back to the present and just take those few deep breaths, it's almost instantaneous. Within 3 to 5 breaths, you already changed the whole mix of all your neurotransmitters. So it's invaluable and cheap, right? What cheap?
I've actually put out a bout of heartburn through breathing. Literally at a stoplight. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then I did breathing, and I learned a technique for it, and it literally put the burnout in my, just through that breathing technique. So there's a lot of things, but as far as practicing that expansion, if you think about your ribs kind of expanding, I used to have such shallow breath that my ribs would crack if I breathed deep. I would have trouble getting a full breath in. Like at the end, it would be like, hesitate. And I have to practice that. And even sometimes the first few breaths are like that until I can get relaxed enough to allow that. So practice, just practice it, and anywhere, anytime you can do it. I do it in my car all
People
the
don't
time.
even know that you're doing it. You're just quietly breathing. And so you can do it.
Right. You can do it, in line. Well, then it becomes natural after, a few months thinking about it. Then you'll start just doing it on your own. You won't, you'll all of a sudden start breathing, deep cleansing breaths naturally.
Just naturally. Yes, absolutely. But it does take
becomes a habit.
Awareness initially.
So
bring it back.
that we talked about, like the writing it down and the breathing, and what are some other things that people can do, like nutritionally, or that they can do to really combat some of this everyday loopy feeling, or kind of feeling like you're walking around in that fog?
Well, one of the key things is just think about your body. Okay, how are the cells replaced? We replace our skin cell every so many days. We replace our GI tract every so many months. What does this replacement come from? Right, it comes from the food that you eat. So the food that you eat, if it's high sugar, lots of trans fats, poorly nourishing, then you're going to be replacing those cells with crap, essentially, right? Not good materials to work from. So the bedrock is a good, healthy diet. So lots of vegetables, organic when you can. Go to the Environmental Working Group, and they have a little list of the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So you can choose where you spend your food dollar, your grocery dollar, and make sure that you're getting those foods that need to be organic, but they tend to be berries. You can't peel berries, and they use a lot of pesticides on blueberries and strawberries.
Spinach is a big one too.
Spinach is another big one. Grapes is a huge one. But there's also some foods that you don't need to get organic. So avocado really doesn't need to be organic. Banana is not so bad because you're peeling them, and there's a lot of stuff that you can remove that way. So there's a whole list. So lots of fruits, lots of vegetables. Clean as much as possible. And when I say clean, I just mean organic and washed. And then meats that you're eating, try to eat the grass-fed, low hormone, no antibiotic, so that you're not bringing in a lot of other chemicals that our body's really not familiar with dealing with. We've only had these things for the last 80 to 100 years. So trying to keep it as close to nature as possible. And then drinking a lot of water. Water is really, really, really important to flush out your system, flush out your brain, flush out your body. And so you need a lot of clean water.
Yeah, dehydration, very mild amount of dehydration will change the blood flow to your brain.
It actually changes your IQ. You will drop about 12 points of IQ when you're dehydrated versus not.
Wow.
So it's huge. Yeah, water is really critical. So these are all simple things that we don't think about a lot, but they're things that everybody can do no matter what their budget.
And you know what I noticed too, you guys hear us repeat a lot of principles. So you're always going to hear us talking about sleep and stress management and breathing and meditation and all of these things. That's never going to change.
Right.
And if you're focusing on these general principles and applying them, they're going to be more critical and move more needles than trying to worry about the tiny detail of one thing that you might be overly worked up about, right? Focus on the principles, apply as much as you can, and know, like I said, where you're going to hear it, repeated repetitions are one of the best ways to learn. So keep tuning in, because we're always going to talk to you about these different principles, and we'll obviously make them applicable to each thing that we're talking about. But the sleep is huge. Have you ever woken up after a bad night of sleep and been completely lost for the whole day?
Foggy, right?
You
The
know,
whole day starts off
You're
wrong.
insulin resistant, you're dehydrated. Like there's so many things that goes with a poor night's sleep.
Right. And sleep, again, we mentioned this kind of at the outset, but sleep is when your brain cleans itself, okay? And I've talked about this in some other of the Facebook Lives, and I talk about this with all my patients. But you have these little cells called glial cells, and they're the little cleansers. They kind of connect everything. And normally the cells in your brain are all tightly together so that things can't get through, because we don't want just anything to come through into our brain. So they're called tight junctions, or the blood-brain barrier you might have heard people speak about. And so that is very tight during the day. But at nighttime when you sleep, and only when you sleep, it starts to loosen a little bit so that the brain can wash itself out and the fluid can come over the brain and cleanse itself. And then again, as you start to wake up, it tightens back up again. But your body needs to do this every night. If you're not sleeping and getting a good, deep, restorative sleep, if you're using a lot of medications to sleep or using alcohol to sleep, then you're not disrupting. It just completely disrupts that. So you're best to try as much as you can to get off of those things and get a more natural sleep. And we've had whole talks about sleep.
Yes.
It's really, really imperative to brain health to be sleeping.
Absolutely.
You just think about this.
And exercise.
Right.
Don't forget exercise.
People. Right.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is like eating an appropriate amount of fats. We're still in that whole, oh my gosh, we're afraid to eat fats and fat makes you fat and all these kind of myths. And that's the one thing we're here to tell you, your brain is primarily made up of fat.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have good, clean types of fat in order to have optimal brain function. So making sure you're either getting your omegas or you're supplementing with your omegas, however you're getting that to your optimal levels.
Right.
It's important to focus on having those fats in your diet.
And omegas come from fish oil, walnuts, chia seeds, ground flax seeds. So those are a lot of the places you can get omegas. There's also good fats in avocado, in coconut oil, in olives, in all of the different nuts. So there's a lot of good fats in our diet and you can get it too from grass-fed beef and chicken. So that's more. Eggs have some good fat in them. My kids always make fun of how I say eggs, so let's see if they cheese me about this one.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's something about the Canadian background there. Eggs. Eat your egg. So those are all places you can get good fats. Okay, so we've covered diet. We've talked a bit about sleep. We've talked a bit about breathing. And now let's kind of talk a little bit about more meditative things. So looking at different kind of meditations that you can do, chanting that you can do, and kind of how the chakras kind of come into all this. Mika, you want to talk a little bit about the chakras?
Sure. Well, your chakras are energy points on your body, like they run up their meridians. So we tend to, if we meditate, we can focus on one of our different 7 chakras. And like you have a heart chakra and it gets blocked. And so a lot of this is emotional and a lot of this is left over from things that happened in your childhood and you just get mentally blocked. So our energy, we have something called qi. If you may have read about qi, tai chi, qi gong, and there's an exercise where you can clap your hands and you can rub them together to feel the heat, and then you can feel that energy between your palms. So it's very tangible, it's very real. We all have it, and we can access it through meditation, through thinking, putting focus on our chakras, through reciting mantras, and breathing. So it's all part of our, just the meridians and the chi and our chakras. They're all kind of tied together in our body. So it's definitely something fun to learn about, and it's very relaxing.
Right, and different chakras are important at different times in our life, and for different people, right? So some people, like I'll see some people who have a lot of throat issues. They're maybe having a hoarse voice or sore throat, and so that's kind of my clue that they've got something going on with their personal voice, because that throat chakra is about expressing yourself. And so
they may have trouble communicating, and then that therefore blocks the energy around their chakra, and then it leads to health issues. So it's very all tied in.
Right. Health issues, relationship issues, it all kind of comes together. Yeah.
Right.
So learning those chakras, learning about them, and different ways to kind of meditate through them, and visualize how that energy goes through your body is really key. So
you can find that with some guided meditations too. They talk a lot about the chakras.
Right. And we included that, of course.
Yeah.
In the course, we
have that, all the way through. It tells you what each chakra is, what kind of emotions, and how to unblock it. And it's good. So that might be somebody interested in. Right. There's a lot to tell in this little thing. I would go through all of them, but
right. No, there's just too much, but I wanted to kind of hone in so that people could kind of see what utility it has. So it's what can you do, and if you want more information, then of course there's the course that we've created, but there's lots that you can get just on the internet, just by listening to this. Pick off a little piece. Okay, I want to work on meditation this month, or I want to work on my diet this month, or I'm going to really focus on my sleep. But pick off a little piece, a little bit at a time. And that's why we did this over 8 weeks too, so that people could hone in on different things in each week. And then have fun. So we also did some recipes for different drinks that kind of bring some of the herbs together, the healing herbs, so that it was kind of fun to cook and make little drinks that can harness some of this energy.
Yeah, click on the link because you can see how the weeks are going to look.
Right. Say again, Mika?
Yeah, so rosemary is a good herb for anybody out there that has having brain fog. The smell of it, if you could find a aromatherapy spray that has rosemary in it, it's energizing. And also make a tea with rosemary. That's a very good brain boosting herb. It's a little tip there for anybody that
Yeah, and you
Let's
can
see.
add it into a lot of different foods too. It's a nice flavor. Yep. And then of course turmeric. We made a wonderful little typical Balinese type of drink, and we put a little edge to it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that too, Mika?
Well, turmeric, it's actually one of the indigenous Indonesian plants, and it's taking off in this country now hugely. Used to never could find it anywhere. Now you can even find it at your regular supermarket, not even Whole Foods. It stains very much. It's a very staining, so you have to be careful when you're using it. But it is one of the most powerful antioxidants, and
The most powerful.
traditionally in Indonesia, they made something called jamu, and they have jamu for everything, every ailment, but it always has turmeric in it. But then it'll add different things. So you just take that with some ginger and some water, and you can put it in your, cook it up and put it in your blender, and then you can use it as a base with a lot of different things. Mix it with some milk at bedtime. It'll help you sleep. Or in the morning, you can mix it with ginger. It'll give you some energy. So,
right.
Yeah,
No,
it's a great.
To me, it tastes delicious. It's just so warming. I just love that internal. Yeah.
You put a little cinnamon and
very, very
coconut
good
milk.
Yeah, cinnamon and milk at night, and turmeric. And it's, if you have teenagers, it's great for the complexion.
Okay.
So in Indonesia, they give it to all their teenagers to drink, and when their face breaks out, and it clears up.
Okay. Learn something new, right?
So.
It's all good.
I'll put you guys in the little comments.
Sometimes they rub it on their face, and then their face turns yellow. So don't do that.
No,
not a topical paste.
That wouldn't work too well here.
Yeah, not a topical.
And so Gail asks, does fasting affect brain fog positively or negatively? Well, actually, that kind of depends. Some people, the fasting really clears up their brain. And I would say that's probably the majority of people, that fasting, you actually, in not spending a lot of energy in digesting food, you free up the energy to kind of cleanse your body, and your brain tends to get a lot of clarity. In some people, though,
after a period of time, too. Sometimes you have to get through that first.
It might take a day or two. But some people have just so much going on that even that little bit of pulling away any kind of nutrition, it stresses their whole system out, and the fasting's not good for them. So experiment with it and see. You kind of maybe talk with your doctor to see if that's a good thing or not to do. But it can, for the most part, be good to do that for a day or a day and a half, maybe 2 days, but not usually. Don't do weeks.
Anything long term, I would supervise.
Yeah, absolutely supervised. Yeah.
And then we have Cheryl had mentioned mouth breathing is not good while sleeping. Thoughts? What are your thoughts? I'm not familiar.
So mouth breathing is typically what we tend to do when we can't breathe well through our nose, right? We have to breathe somehow, and when we sleep, our jaw will kind of drop open and everything hangs, and that dries out your mouth. Your nose is meant to humidify things and to clear out any kind of particles and bacteria, so then you're losing that filtering capability. So yeah, mouth breathing is not a healthy thing to do for prolonged periods of time. So
and how is there a way to control that in your sleep other than just keeping the healthy diet?
So looking at position, sometimes you get like little contraptions that can hold your jaw up so they keep your mouth shut. Make sure that you don't have a very congested nose. So using maybe a neti pot with some saline to help flush out your nose and clean it out so it's not all congested. So those are some key things. And sometimes you need to have a sleep apnea testing to see if you've got some big obstruction. Maybe you've got big adenoids. Maybe you've got a very floppy palate. Sometimes you need to have other things done to help.
So naturally, if you don't have any of those things, you're naturally inclined to sleep with your mouth shut.
Yes, right. But alcohol will tend to make you sleep with your mouth open. Some of the sleeping pills will certainly, if you're overweight, you tend to, because you're pushing against the weight of your body, and it's hard to expand your lungs. In position. So if you're laying on your back, it's more likely that everything, you do the big O. And so looking at positioning, looking at your bed, maybe you need a sleep number bed, raise your head up a little bit. There can be different ways of looking at it, but get a good sleep doctor and they'll go over all of that with you.
Very interesting. Great questions, guys.
Yeah, awesome questions. So I think we've done about our half an hour now. We went over a little bit. Thank you everybody for hanging in there. And if anybody is interested in more information, we've put it on the Facebook page. We've got the link to our course. We're going to have it'll be tomorrow before I'll be able to get it up, but we'll put on that first breathing exercise that I do so you can start to see some of the breathing. Just learn a little bit about the Daily Own platform. Actually, that's something that I didn't know about before, but it's really kind of cool. They have 3 pay levels. So for all the courses that they have there, they have 3 levels of payment. You can pay $10, $25, or $40, depending on your ability to pay. You get the same course.
Yeah.
And my husband said, well, wouldn't everybody just go for the $10 level? And some people do, but some people who have the ability to pay more,
it's like a contribution. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a really cool idea. And Mika and I both really wanted to get this information out there for people because we see it as being such a common issue that is not really well addressed in, if you go to your doctor's office and you say, I have brain fog, they're going to go, well, how am I going to help you? Right? Give me another diagnosis and I can give you a pill for that. So we wanted to put some information up there to empower people because that is really what we're all about. All of us here are all about empowering you to take the best care of the body you were given and make the best of this life that you have.
Be your own advocate, guys.
Yes.
Really, you have a lot more control.
Just breathe. All you have to do is breathe.
Right? All you have to do is breathe.
Life-changing stuff.
And as a final note, that's exactly what I would say in the ER. Actually, in the ER, when somebody would code, when they have a heart attack and stop breathing, I'd look at the whole gang that was, ready and already doing things. Okay, everybody, take a breath. Okay, and then we would dive in, right? So that because sometimes you get too excited to be able to really think clearly. So you have to just take that step back and know exactly what you're doing. So with that, everybody, please take some nice, slow, deep breaths into the bottom of your lungs tonight before you go to sleep. And think about all that energy, that oxygen going to your brain and cleaning it out.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mika. Great information.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mika.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Bye, guys. Good night now.